GSP offered advice to Conor McGregor after Conor McGregor's loss, and his advice basically was, if he wants to be on the road back to success, he needs to get out of his comfort zone. And I think that was a very, very good quote. And the reason I say that, because I think a lot of people do get comfortable, and I think what makes you a champion, like Conor McGregor and GSP, is when you come up and you don't have anything. And like GSP said, he was fighting to stay alive all of his first fights, because he knew if he lost, he might lose his career, he might lose everything, go back to a normal job. Conor McGregor is a prime example of that. This guy had nothing. This guy was like bare bone broke, and he was fighting to survive. So when you have that going for you, you fight a lot better. And I think GSP is basically saying, you got to put yourself back in your, out of your comfort zone and back in your desperation mode. And everyone I've talked to that's known GSP and trained with him, including David Loazo, who was in my very last podcast, all agreed and all told me that he is very meticulous when he fights. GSP, he's the kind of guy that lays his food out. He plans all of it, like every minute of his training session. He lays his clothes out, the night before to get it ready for the next morning. And he's very, very meticulous. So I can see GSP being a guy that would take the amenities out of his life during his fight camp, not walk around in nice clothes and drive Bentleys and be on yachts and things like that, but literally put himself back into a position where he's uncomfortable to be able to get through fights. And just to follow up on that really fast, and I'm talking a lot, but GSP also ended his fight on a 13-fight win streak. Okay, so there is some credibility to what he's saying. He ended his career past when he actually wanted to end his career. I mean, he came back and fought even after he planned to, and he ended on a 13-fight win streak, and his last fight being at 185, a higher weight class, for the championship and winning that. So I think his formula to give advice to someone like Conor is correct. And Conor's 3-3 in his last 6 fights, and he was on I had it written here, but it's I'm not. This is obviously not rattling off the top of my head. He was on a 15-fight win streak. So Conor had a 15-fight win streak when he was coming up and desperate, and kind of needed the money a little bit more, and he's went 3-3 since then. So I can kind of agree with what GSP's saying. So what do you think on that, as far as you've built more champions that went from nothing to being multimillionaires than anybody, so you can attest to that. And then also, what do you think about GSP possibly coming back and maybe taking that fight with Khabib if it is offered, even though it's been off the table?
Well, GSP is correct in so many ways. The thing of it is you have to stay hungry. That is definitely the number one thing. You have to stay hungry. You have to still want it. You still have to get up with that same desire that you want to keep something, you're striving for some great achievement. And you have to have that. If you don't have that, if you're looking for the better things in life, like going on the yachts and you're saying on those fancy cars and you're skipping training because you're going to do those things, then you are missing the eye of the tiger, I guess, if you want to say it that way. But the number one thing is you can never make yourself a champion. You can never keep yourself a champion. You have a team, and you have to have your coaches that can guide you, that you trust, that know what's best for you. And I think that that is the number one thing, is have the same group that believed in you and you believe in them. And if you don't believe in your coaches, then find somebody you believe in, because that's extremely important. But if you have the same core people that were guiding you to the championship and they're still there and they're still willing, you should stay with that same formula that got you there, because once you get out of that comfort zone, it's hard to come back. So as a fighter, I know 100% when I lost my coach because he moved to Hawaii, I started scrambling who to find, this and that. So I got my friends to try to coach me, but they didn't really know what the heck they were doing. So that was a big, giant mess. You have to have coaches that know what they're doing, and you have to have someone that you trust and you believe in them. And if you don't, then you need to change it, and so to me, that was kind of an example of what I'm trying to say here. I brought friends. They weren't really qualified, and that was a mess. That was a mess. And then I got myself in a mess, and I go, well, how the hell can I tell these guys I need to get rid of them? So I had to be very delicate about that, because I didn't want to ruin my friendship.
Yeah.
But you have to have the right coaches. You have to have the right mentality. You have to have that drive. If you don't have it, it's hard to buy it. You can't buy that. You got to have it.
And I think you make a great point. Another point that GSP had was he also mentioned that when you go to train, you can't be the king of the gym. Like, you have to still be the student. You have to have the coaches telling you what to do. You do what they say, and you train just like you used to. And I think you can attest to that and maybe give some insight on this, because you building the champions that you have, if there's one thing I've noticed from training at AKA is, like, no matter how famous we got and how big we got, we never felt like we were the top. I mean, there's obviously times when certain people at the gym feel like the top dog, and they're their own businesses, and they have a better future than the other fighters at the gym. But it's still hard training. You were the boss. You made everybody do what they had to do, and it was yes, sir, and they did it. Nobody ever came in like DC or Kane or Luke or any of the guys that made it to the top, came in and told you what they were going to do. And then just told you, I don't feel like doing that, and then just did something else. You were always the king of the gym when it came to the coaching and the teaching. And I think that's what GSP says Conor needs to do, because he seems to be the king of his gym.
You cannot do that. You can't run your own. We can't. It's impossible. I'm sorry. It's just I've never seen it. Muhammad Ali had Angela Dundee. Mike Tyson had his people. All the greats have their people. I'm sorry. You need somebody that run you. You need somebody you trust in. You need somebody that's experienced. You need that. It's extremely important. Great coaches, are important for a great fighter. They really are. I've seen it too many times to not disagree with that. I agree 100% that you need a great coach. And if you don't have a great coach, you can at least know someone that knows you really well and knows exactly what you need to do and can let you, in other words, the coach has to guide you. You don't guide the coach.
And I want to put a little bit more value on in history that nobody knows, including maybe yourself, some of this at least, on the value of a GSP versus Habib fight, if it was to ever happen. And we don't know anything anybody else does. Trust me. I know you don't, and I don't, and we don't know anything that's going on as far as that. But if it was to happen, let's give a little history here with AKA versus TriStar. Okay, so I fought Jonathan Goulet and beat Jonathan Goulet. I fought David Loiseau. I beat David Loiseau. I fought, oh my God, who's the other Canadian? I fought 3 Canadians, I'm pretty sure. Jonathan Goulet, Steve Vigneault, and David Loiseau. Steve Vigneault. Okay, so that's 3 Canadians that train with GSP that I beat. So I took out those guys. Koscheck had 2 fights with GSP. Fitch had 1 fight with GSP and couldn't beat GSP. GSP's the one guy that could never get beat by AKA. But you, my friend, you fought the founder of TriStar in kickboxing, according to David Loiseau post-podcast. We talked for like another 30 minutes after the podcast was over and talked about a lot of interesting stuff. And apparently you had a kickboxing match with the founder of TriStar and you won. So I don't want to say the name because I'm not sure.
Conrad Pla?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say the name of who it is, but whoever it was, a main head of TriStar, fought kickboxing back in the day and fought you and lost. So now we have wins over someone, the team related to GSP, from you to me to all these wins except GSP. He's the only person we have not defeated. And Habib would be our last chance to conquer that team and conquer essentially Canada, since that's the best team in Canada. So that adds a little bit of value to the fight. And it's kind of interesting. When David told me that, I was like, wow, I had no idea. And I don't even think Hoff probably knows that he fought, because I don't know who he's referring to. It's somebody at the top of TriStar.
Conrad Pla.
Yeah, I guess
he was associated. I don't know what part he had to do.
Maybe he was like a co-founder or something.
TriStar, a co-founder,
maybe, or striking coach.
He's a hell of an actor too. I saw him in some Netflix things where he's a soccer coach, and I seen him in prison guard movies. That guy's badass, man. He knows how to act. Conrad Pla's the man, dude. He's badass.
Yeah. Well, good job, Hav. We don't talk about your victories that often, since you haven't fought in quite a while. But congratulations on that.
They're not worth talking about.
Oh, come on.